All right. So, Wall Street Journal had these articles, and BlackRock's woke era is over, apparently. So I thought we'd take a look at it. I'm just going to say that's not obviously the case, clearly. But we'll take a look and just analyze it, right? BlackRock are a truly evil organization, I think, massively. Um, they purposely push out specific agendas yearly. Larry Fink's yearly message, where he's just out and out states what he wants to do and how he wants to change the world. These companies, management, whatever, they don't have the right to do that. BlackRock's incredibly shady. They're going to have a huge hand in Ukraine. So definitely, maybe think about the fact that there's some ulterior motives with what's happening in Ukraine right now. Considering I'm sure BlackRock also, has a lot of investments in weapons, and they've already got the deal to rebuild Ukraine as well. So, maybe you should probably think about that before you keep chowing down the Ukraine sword. But anyway, the point is they're an evil company. Is the point I'm trying to make? Right? They are genuinely an evil company. So it says this: BlackRock joined a UN-sponsored climate coalition in March 2021. Sustainability groups were thrilled. Having the world's largest investment firm on board instantly lent credibility to the net zero asset managers, an initiative committed to support the goal of net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2050. Dozens of major investment managers followed BlackRock's lead. BlackRock is proud to put its name behind this initiative, Larry Fink said at the time, Bond villain that he is. Nearly 4 years later, Fink was distancing himself. NZAM got a phone call on January 9th. BlackRock was out. Within days, the coalition was teetering. BlackRock's departure from the coalition and its reversal this week on several diversity, equity, and inclusion policies are the latest example of the company's retreat from advocating for issues related to environmental, social, and corporate governance factors. It's been gradually walking back its ESG initiatives for years after conservatives criticized the movement as being woke and legal risks grew. It should never. What? Yeah. Why have they never been taken to court anyway? BlackRock's recent actions show the reversal is almost complete. I disagree. Though the fallout might not be, the company has been able to maintain strong results throughout the controversy, reporting record inflows last year. Crucially, BlackRock has remained out of the crosshairs of President Trump, who has a personal relationship with Fink. Trump has publicly commended Fink for managing his money well in the past. And Fink and other BlackRock executives still have the Trump team's ear on economic issues, according to people familiar with the matter. That just simply should not be the case, just as an FYI. I think that's disgusting. I like Trump with a lot of what he does. That pisses me off quite a lot, and it makes me think less of Trump. If he can't tell or see that BlackRock is mental and doing demonstrably evil things in the world, then yeah, I don't know, gone down in my books there a little bit. And so basically they're like, yeah, it's gone. This is hardball politics at its best or worst, however you want to think about it, said Mindy Lubber, CEO of sustainability nonprofit Series and one of the leaders of NZAM. So they're still talking. They're like, we still want to discuss how we can lead on environmental and social issues. That was a few years ago, but they've largely abandoned such rhetoric after a series of congressional inquiries and red state lawsuits. They'll still be doing it by the back door, though. And this is what's happening, isn't it? BlackRock ends diversity goals, merges DEI team into talent and culture. So we're not going to call it DEI. We're going to call it talent and culture, by the looks of it. So BlackRock told its employees Friday that it would no longer pursue aspirational workforce representation goals, according to a memo sent by the firm's CEO, Larry Fink. President Robert Capito and Global Head of Human Resources, Caroline Heller. The asset manager's prior representation goals expired last year, and the company said it will not renew them, according to the February 28th memo posted to X, formerly known as Twitter, by senior Fox Business correspondent Charles Gasparino. BlackRock the nation's largest asset manager, nearly like one of the biggest in the world, but all right, will also merge its diversity, equity, and inclusion and talent management teams into a new talent and culture department. So they're not being fired. These woke retards are still working there. They're just being renamed into a new department. We operate in one of the most highly regulated industries globally and are committed to following the law in every aspect. Well, when you've got the ear of global leaders, the law will bend to your whim, won't it? Recently, there have been a number of significant changes to the US legal and policy environment related to diversity, equity, and inclusion that apply to many companies, including BlackRock. So that just tells me that they're changing the name so they can still do it. But there you go. What do you guys think? Go on, culture.
I don't think it's a surprise what I think. This is definitely an attempt to try to kill the scent of this because it's been stinking up BlackRock for a while, but they did make some actual efforts to distance themselves. They only fell in line with about 4% of environmental investments rather than 40% of environmental investments in the last year, which is why they have had record numbers this last year. They got out of the bologna sausage business. They've also made some positive steps, but at the same time, there's no way we can believe any of this. Larry Fink is evil. He's been trying to force the change in behaviors. One of the things that they've had to acquiesce to is the fact that they have left themselves open for investigation when it comes to their lending schemes, and you can't do that. You cannot force behavior by businesses or anything else tied to immutables. So they've had to pull back on that front. And ultimately, though, this is really just a change in name, as is pointed out here, talent and culture. If they're ever found breaking the law, they will get the mother of all fines from the EEOC here in this country. Not to mention the fact that they can't afford wide divestment, and or discovery on that front because they do have government ties. And in the case of the current administration, you can't have any of this. And if you do, you will be cut off. Could you imagine the $11 trillion managing asset company losing its government everything that they're invested in? Could you imagine that? It would all of a sudden hit them to the tune of multiple trillions of dollars. It would be a catastrophe for BlackRock, and you would see a lot of divestment from their schemes. Not to mention the fact that people like Larry Fink and others would be removed from their positions post haste and perhaps put in prison because they violated the fiduciary duty that they have to their clients. This would make, not necessarily Enron kinds of waves, but similar. I think that type of action by the federal government could fuck them, and that's saying it nicely. I don't know, Bo. Do you
You're
agree?
on a roll today with these curse words.
Sorry about that.
You're going for it, mate.
Yeah, no, Larry Fink is evil. I had a bit of a Twitter exchange with someone the other day saying I reserve the word evil for like sort of truly heinous criminals. But yeah, I'm happy to say that about Larry Fink. He's some sort of living, walking, demonic force. And it's just a case of that people have sort of noticed what BlackRock are doing, and they have to sort of at least nominally, at least on paper, sort of start walking it back a little bit because it's so blatant, it's so in your face, it's on such a giant scale, a truly global scale, that they've had to dial it down a bit. They were up at they dialed it up to 8 or 9, and they've got to turn it back down to a 3. But they're not turning it off. They're not going anywhere. The grand plan to subvert and ultimately destroy Western culture and civilization, that's not over. Of course not. You don't get somebody like Larry Fink who suddenly realizes, oh, maybe I won't have that agenda anymore. No, of course not. So yeah, you're quite right to say it's disappointing that Trump is sort of in bed with the likes of Larry Fink. But there you go. He's chosen. He's made some choices in life, hasn't he? I mean, did you see him tucking Netanyahu in at a table? See that?
What?
When Netanyahu visited the other day. Oh, we're not allowed to talk about these sorts of things. Yeah, Netanyahu went to sit down, and Trump's literally get in the chair. Yeah, like got the chair behind him and sort of made sure he sat down comfortably for him. You know, there's images of Trump at the Wailing Wall and all sorts of things. Yeah, he's made his choices. Can't be too explicit about, can we? But there you go. Yeah, Larry Fink is an evil person, and there's not much else to say.
I think you're being too kind.
Yeah, no, Larry Fink's scumbag.
Yeah,
like actual scumbag.
I mean, here in Britain, we do actually have sort of lines in the sand where you can't speak freely, can you?
No.
Well, no, you actually can't say, the truth. I'm sorry. You're stuck with that for a while. You somehow thought that, temporary Starmer would be okay.
No one thought he'd be okay. What's wrong with you?
I mean,
no one thought he'd be okay. It was one of the lowest voting turnouts ever. So no one thought he would be okay. He got less votes than when Jeremy Corbyn lost. And yeah, I can't remember the full metric, but yeah, it was tiny, and a tiny amount of the electorate came out to actually vote because it was a non-protest vote. Basically, people were choosing to not cast a vote at all out of protest because they've been completely desensitized and just sort of demoralized by the two-party system, the uni-party. Basically, they were just like, no, this is just ridiculous. Why are we going through this charade, this facade that is presented as democracy? People just not. So no, it wasn't. People weren't voting for Starmer. Basically.
Okay. Well, I mean, they should have voted for Farage from the very beginning. But hey, who knows?
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, but he's still pretty fucking weak sauce anyway, mate.
He's better than Starmer, and you guys would have a good relationship with the U.S. instead of a snively little piece of garbage that's snaking the minerals deal from underneath the states. And he's one of the people that definitely violated the Logan Act in order for that to, or cause somebody here to violate the Logan Act. We're about to see some major corruption stuff in the States that we have not seen because people never imagined the level of corruption that is in the United States for shit like this. So,
it's going to be fun. Anyway. It's going to be fun. Curtis Joseph says BlackRock only loves the sweet cheddar of money. Yeah. How much money do you need though? Christ. And that stuff wasn't profitable anyway, though. That's the thing. Like, DEI and ESG, it wasn't actually profitable. It was what they were forcing on companies. It's not helped Disney, has it? Like, let's get real here, right? Like the media business, the games business, the DEI and ESG is not helping them in any way, shape, or form. It's roundly rejected by most cultures, like most societies. Are like, no, this is crap. Go away, piss off. So it's not actually profitable, annoyingly, but they still choose to pursue it, and that's how you know he's evil, because he's choosing to pursue it not actually just it's not for monetary gain. It's him genuinely looking to subvert and change the world in what he considers to be the better direction. It's like, right, okay, but then that's, I mean, we bang on about Russia and their oligarchs. What's Larry Fink, mate? Like, what's that? Yeah,
shitbag.
Well, it's a form of oligarchy, isn't it?
Sure, but I'm sorry. I thought you wanted a different answer than that.
No. I'm saying we bang on about Russia and oligarchs controlling stuff and having say. Well, Larry Fink is a form of an oligarch. Like, we have oligarchs. We just don't call them that. But we do have them. But anyway,
no, it's absolutely true.
Yeah. Khalid Oki, Super Chat $2 says, many companies are distancing themselves from DEI for the next 4 years. They'll be back on that train as soon as Trump leaves. There isn't an infinite amount of funds out there to force culture change. They can only try. Just another minor L for them. But hopefully Vance will take over.
Yeah.
We've got the midterms coming up. That'll be interesting. That'll sort of tell you the state of play, whether people think he's been doing good or not.
Well,
I think they will.
I think with the amount of corruption that they're going to be able to expose, there's going to be really hard for Democratic politicians to get elected. You're going to start seeing cases like 1 year out from the midterms. You're going to see cases start to fall into place for corruption and very provable crimes. The establishment of NGOs for the purpose of embezzling money from the U.S. government. You're going to start to see more and more of those things happen. I'm sorry, just as an outside observer, if I were the political strategist on this, I would start dropping. I would start proceeding forward on all of these cases with all of these congressmen and senators that are very, very compromised. And that will definitely shape the elections. And if it's the preponderance of the people, there will be some Republicans in there, by the way. But if the preponderance of people are uniparty Democrats that are just incredibly, establishment friendly kinds of politicians, it's going to be difficult for the Democrats to argue that, that they're the party of choice when they're exposed for being the criminals that they are. So just a couple thoughts.
Yeah.
If you look at somebody like Adam Schiff or
Schiff,
Schiff, yeah. Or you look at like Nancy Pelosi, one of the all-time greatest investors, one of the greatest stock pickers of all time. Obviously corrupt, and I feel like Vance has been doing well. I feel like he has got. It seems to me, anyway. My personal take, is that he does seem to have enough charisma and certainly enough nous to be in the big seat himself one day.
Oh, yeah.
I genuinely hope he's much better than Marco Rubio. So I genuinely hope he gets it next time. Sorry, go on.
The thing about Vance is he's got something about him.
Yeah.
Right. We've had a lot of vice presidents that, like, there's nothing to them. There's nothing to them at all.
You mean like Biden and Kamala Harris?
When they are a vice president, they don't say anything that's interesting. They don't do anything that's interesting. They don't have charisma. They don't have anything, right? Like JD Vance, he's vice president now, and he's making the news in a positive way because he has charisma. Right? Like, he's interesting. He's one of these people that you listen to, whether you like him or hate him. A bit like a Trump, which bodes well for him, actually, I think.
Yeah. There's this old idea that the vice president is like one of the most redundant offices possible. I mean, John Adams himself said that. And that in one way, obviously, you're one heartbeat away from being the president, right? So in one sense, you're as close to the pinnacle of power as it's possible to be. You're as close to being the leader of the free world as it's possible to be. And in another sense, you're almost entirely hamstrung and powerless in all sorts of ways. And it's your job to keep quiet and keep in the background in all sorts of ways. However, there have been some vice presidents in the past who, I feel like it's what you make of it. If you sort of force yourself into the limelight, you can. It's definitely a staging post to become president. And there's lots of examples where that's happened as well, even in recent years, recent decades, anyway. And so, and obviously Vance is doing that. He's playing that game. That he's obviously ambitious, and I don't blame him. Obviously ambitious to be the president in 28. And I can't think of the thing that you talk about charisma. The thing that I like, I imagine most people like about him, is he's sort of a normal person from sort of a fairly poor, working class background who done good, served his country, worked really, really hard, is sort of naturally intelligent, went to a great uni, wrote a book, all these things. And at the end of it all is engaging, right? He can go on something like Joe Rogan or Theo Von and be a normal person, right? As well as fairly intelligent and quite articulate. So, yeah, I'm here for Vance 28. Will be Vance Gabbard.
I hope so. See, and that would be
Yeah.
really interesting because that would be one part of American history that we haven't had for a while. Kind of a split ticket president, vice president, because that's willingly inviting a Democrat, like, into that position. Although she formally has given up the idea that she's a Democrat. I don't know that she's formally become a Republican, but regardless, it would be that idea of bringing in a Democrat, despite the fact that technically Trump's a New York Democrat. But if you look at it, I mean, they still call him extremely right. They call, they call even Tulsi Gabbard alt right. I'm like, you're yelling down the wrong tunnel, kids. Yeah, it's not true. Anyway, sorry. American politics has always been fascinating to me. I was brought up within it. So, yeah.
We still got another super chat here, though. Sorry, guys. Kalechi super chat at $2 and says, my only wish is that the guy that threw the brick at him didn't miss and should have thrown it a little harder. Did someone try and throw a brick at Larry Fink? I don't remember this.
Yeah,
this is new to me.
That.
He did up his security. I don't
Okay.
remember that specific issue, but he did up his security. He realized he had become the enemy. That's not good. You don't want to become the enemy.
Yeah, I didn't know that was the thing. All right, well, there you go. We will move on from that now, guys. But yeah, still interesting nonetheless.